Thank you all for tuning into another edition of Outside the Shop bonus content edition. I do an Outside the Shop on Thursday and Friday, so I thought maybe I'd do a couple of vids over this weekend. Maybe I'm gonna have another vid coming out too, so I'm looking out for that. And this is where I get to talk about everything, right, that I don't normally get to talk about on a regular sports podcast. Barber Shop Sports Talk. You guys can all find that on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the whole 9 yards there. So what I'm going to do is this. I am going to give all of you guys my top 32 QBs for this NFL season. So I just want to explain how I'm going to do the list. I'm getting my list right up here so I can read it off to everybody. So how I'm going to do this list, right? It's going to be all 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I was talking to one of my friends, Silas Garrison, by QB. I'm trying to explain this is the 2021-2022 NFL season. So for those of you who might be confused, Deshaun Watson will not be on the list. Russell Wilson right now will not be on the list. I will give you guys this. If Russell Wilson was on the list, he would be at number 11 or 12, probably just outside of my top 10. The reason being he has been hurt for this quad these last 4 games of the NFL season. I did one for the first 4. This is the next 4, so this is the midway point. Then we're going to do one for the third quarter, which is the next 4 or 5. Then we're going to finish it off with the last 4 or 5, right? So that's how I'm going to do this. So that's why Russell is not in the rankings. Also, James Winston is in these rankings. James Winston will be out for the next installment of the rankings, right? James Winston tore his ACL. I don't expect Geno Smith to stay in these rankings. Geno Smith is in these rankings. Also, Davis Mills is in these rankings. Davis Mills was not in the last edition. Tyrod Taylor was. So has everybody got that? Okay, great. Also, share this if you're listening. Share this content. Would really appreciate it. So first, at number 1, let's start with the top dog. It's still Aaron Rodgers. What he does is just phenomenal. He can make every throw in the book. Amazing decision maker. There are literally no weaknesses in Aaron's game. There are no weaknesses in Aaron's game. It's as perfect as it gets. So that's why Aaron is number 1. And Aaron's number 1 over a Patrick Mahomes because right now, here are the weaknesses in Patrick Mahomes' game. Right now, it's his awareness, his decision making, his ability to be too risk adverse. And I think part of the why I still have Mahomes too is Mahomes still makes throws and plays that nobody else can make in the league, right? And Mahomes was a shaky number 2, by the way. Mahomes could go down, just so people know. But right now, Mahomes has done enough for him to stay at number 2. He does not have the awareness. I think it's because of the pressure. He's been hit a lot this year and last year. I think he's starting to get jumpy in the pocket, even leave the pocket when there's really not any pressure. So that awareness and that ability to control the game is why Aaron's ahead of Patrick. So Patrick's at 2, like I said. Number 3, Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford could pass Patrick Mahomes by next quarter when I do these rankings again. Matthew Stafford can make every throw in the book just like Rodgers and Mahomes can. He can run anything you want on offense. Master decision maker. 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Cooper Kupp's on his way to having almost just under a 2,000 yard season. When Cooper Kupp was with Jared Goff, he was barely getting over 1,000. Folks, that is the difference between being a fringe Pro Bowler and an All-Pro. That's the difference between being like a top 20-ish wide receiver, maybe you're a fringe number 1, and being a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. That's what Matthew Stafford does. Matthew Stafford, his awareness, his decision-making is at a high level. The reason I have Mahomes ahead of him is because I still think Mahomes makes a couple more plays that Stafford doesn't, and why Stafford's making less mistakes than Mahomes. I also give Mahomes the benefit of the doubt with this. Mahomes has a tougher job. He's having to throw it. He has the second most throwing attempts in the NFL. So he's having to do a lot more than Matthew Stafford is on a down-to-down basis. Also, the defense for the Chiefs is nowhere near the level of the Rams. So that is why Stafford is at 3, Mahomes is at 2. So at 4, at number 4, I'm going with the guy who has been semi-low in my rankings throughout points of this year, Tom Brady. Ben Karen would probably tell me that my good friend Ben, right? Well, he would tell me that Tom's number 1, but Tom is number 4, which probably was hard for me to do, right? Here's what I wrote for Tom: the most consistent QB in the NFL. His physical ability is underrated. People don't realize the arm talent Tom Brady actually has. It doesn't matter who plays for Tampa. You might say he has all these weapons: Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate, Scotty Miller, all these guys. Scotty Miller's been on IR. Robert Gronkowski's been hurt for most of the season. Antonio Brown's been in and out of the lineup. So there's been a lot of injuries, a lot of hit or misses with these guys, and Tom Brady is still consistent. He hasn't really had a bad game this year. His worst game was when he came back to New England. It was in a monsoon. Bill Belichick knows him better than anybody, and they did a great job. And he actually did a decent job of stuff you wouldn't expect Brady doing, like moving outside of the pocket, extending someplace. He actually did that. So Brady, number 4, just a master, a Jedi Knight of the highest order, really understands the QB position, awareness, accuracy, ball placement. And that's not even getting into the leadership and the intangibles that people want to mention about Brady. There's also no weakness in this game. There's some things that he can't do on a high level, like guys ahead of him, like Stafford, like Rodgers, like Mahomes. But there are no weaknesses in Tom Brady's game. There is not a single weakness in his game. And that's one of the most special things about Tom Brady. At number 5, my guy, Big Blue. Number 17, Josh Allen for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is a special player at the quarterback position. The reason Tom Brady's ahead of him is on a throw-to-throw basis, Tom's just been more consistent this year. I know Josh Allen has the ability to make plays off schedule. It has not been the same, though, as it was last year. There's been some regression. Also, I think that's due to the fact that the connection with him and Stephon Diggs just hasn't been the same. So that's kind of why Josh Allen has moved down. He was at 3 in my last rankings. Number 6, I have Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was in top 5. The last few games, he struggled a little bit. DeAndre Hopkins has been in and out of the lineup. He's also now getting a little banged up. So that's why Kyler is just outside of my top 5. I like the thickness and the durability of Josh Allen a little bit more. Number 7 is Lamar Jackson. Too much inconsistency as a passer. I know the running is so special. It is so special. There's not a quarterback in this league. Hell, there's not many running backs in this league, the side of Derrick Henry, that are better on the ground than Lamar. But the passing just wasn't consistent enough for me to move him ahead of some of these other guys. At number 8, I have Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was the guy who was in my top 5 last rankings. He struggled. He's had bad games against the Bengals. He's also had a bad game against the a bad game against the Patriots. Not a great game against the Patriots, and a bad game against the Ravens. He needs to be better. And I think they're putting a little bit too much pressure. And for these top guys, you see how much pressure these other quarterbacks get put under. And I think we're starting to see Herbert regress a little bit. He can still make all the throws, still extremely talented, still great, but he goes down a notch. At number 9, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott stays. I believe he was number 9 in my last rankings. Still a great deep ball thrower. He has a lot of balance. Has a really good OC in Kellen Moore, really good head coach in Mike McCarthy. Consistently, they play out of the sticks, which I think helps him a lot. But Dak Prescott is at number 9. Also, he is hurt. He missed last game, so that gave him a little bit of a ding as well. Number 10, Joe Burrow. One of the biggest risers, aggressive thrower downfield, Joe Burrow. Great off schedule, extremely accurate. There's really no weaknesses in Joe Burrow's game. The Cincinnati Bengals have an awful offensive line, both run blocking and pass blocking. He still makes throw after throw for the Bengals. Joe Burrow at number 10. Derek Carr is at number 11. He is a master in the short passing game. He's had to deal with not having the best weapons in the world. His offensive coordinator and head coach, John Gruden, is out. Then he still plays well. Then you also have situations where his deep threat, Henry Ruggs, is now going to be looking at 25 years in prison for the awful DUI incident. So Derek Carr is 11. So I want to give a demarker right here. The top 11 QBs in the NFL. These are all the guys that I think are special. If Russell Wilson was in here, that's 12. If Deshaun Watson was on here, those are 13. Which means there are 13 special QBs in the NFL right now who can play special. Then after that, we get to this next tier, guys. Number 12, Ryan Tannehill. Wish he would be more consistent. He has the benefit of Derrick Henry, but he's great on play action. Has good physical ability, can move outside of the pocket, aggressive downfield thrower. Number 13, Matt Ryan. There's nothing special about his game, but he's consistently accurate and he's consistently solid. But at this stage of his career, he's not a volume thrower. Kirk Cousins is at 14. He's not given a whole lot of balance. He's asked to make a lot of throws. He's not given a lot of protection. But there's really nothing spectacular about his game, and the consistency can be meh. At number 15, I have Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has quietly thrown the football for over 300 times this year. He's like top 6 or top 7 in attempts in the NFL so far. Really good athlete, good downfield thrower. Sometimes he makes stupid mistakes. He's dialed that down since being with the Eagles, but it can still rear its ugly head sometimes. So Carson Wentz at number 15, and he's pretty mobile, by the way. At number 16, James Winston. James Winston will be out for the next installment of these rankings, but Jameis, super talented. He's a great deep ball thrower, great on play action, thick, strong body, but struggles with the short passing game, the easy passes. He can make all the spectacular passes, struggles with the easy passes, and you have to put a leash on him because he makes stupid mistakes. At number 17, we have Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has dropped. Injury issues, has gone through periods of time where he's just not throwing the ball well. Seems like he's reading Odell Beckham. So that's why Baker's at 17. Mac Jones is at 18. Mac Jones is doing everything he can for this New England offense. They have receivers who can't separate. He's thrown at the 5th most attempts in the NFL. Extremely accurate inside the numbers and is getting better and better. At number 19, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is one of the most criminally underrated players in the NFL to me in terms of the quarterback position. People act like he sucks when he's in an awful situation. They have a bad offensive line. They don't have great wide receivers. The defense isn't that spectacular, and I don't think the Giants' coaching is all that great, to be perfectly honest with you. And he's played hurt. He played with a freaking concussion. I still believe he was concussed when he played, and he's just solid. He's athletic, can move, has a decent arm, solid decision maker. I know he has a fumbling issue, but Daniel Jones at number 19 and number 20, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's hurt consistently, mediocre-ish when he plays. He has one of the best play callers in Kyle Shanahan. That's why Jimmy Garoppolo's at 20. Number 21, Teddy Bridgewater. He can make all the easy plays, make none of the tough plays. That was my saying for Teddy Bridgewater. Number 2, Jalen Hurts, great athlete, bad thrower of the football. Eagles should run him more. That's a 22. Then there's this next tier, guys. 23, Justin Fields. Justin Fields has a chance to be a big mover up these rankings. He was, I think, at 32 or 31 last time I did this. Great deep ball passing. People don't realize that he is a great runner of the football. They don't run him enough. We saw what he did running the football last game when they played. I'm forgetting who the Bears played, but whoever they played, he had 10 rushes. I think he had close to 100 yards. He was phenomenal doing that. I think with better play calling, I think we're going to see Justin Fields can do a lot more. So he's at 23. 24, Taylor Heineke. Small guy, not a thick body that I typically like. Will try to make a bunch of throws. Turnover machine, not very disciplined, and the talent isn't that great. So he's in a mix where he tries to go beyond being a game manager when all he is a game manager. That's why Taylor Heineke is at 24. Number 25, Tua Tagovailoa. Some of the same issues with Taylor Heineke, except I don't like his moxie as much. He doesn't make the plays that I think actually Taylor Heineke does in terms of getting outside of the pocket, making some throws, making something when there's nothing. Tua Tagovailoa does nothing with that, and he's also never healthy. Not thick, not strong. That's why he's also not durable. Can't throw it outside of 10 yards. Not a great decision maker either. Jared Goff is at 26. Nothing special about Jared Goff. 27, Ben Roethlisberger. He's played better, but still can't throw more than 10, 15 yards. They rely on the run game and their wide receivers make plays. At 28, you have Trevor Lawrence. The only thing to note about Trevor Lawrence's game so far is his rushing ability. At number 29, you have Zach Wilson. He's been hurt, banged up. The Jets have an awful offensive line, not great wide receivers, awful situation for Zach Wilson. But Zach Wilson still has the physical ability where he makes some off-schedule throws. He makes some tight throws in the 40-yard spiral down the field, threading the needle that you're like, this dude is special. At number 30, you have Geno Smith, backup QB, not very good. Need no explanation there. Sam Darnold's at 31. Sam Darnold just been awful. This last 4 or 5 games in the NFL season, Sam's been abominable. I feel really bad for him. The Panthers, they have the OC. They have that coach. They have the weapons. He just can't deliver. And I don't know what else to say. I don't even know if he can read what he's doing reading the defense. It's just not very good football. And at 32, Davis Mills. He's been very unimpressive. He had one good game, but besides that, mediocre and not very good. So those are my top 32 QBs in the NFL. Have a great day, everybody, and God bless.